Hello everyone, marhaba, welcome to a new episode of podcast. Today I have two special guests. Welcome Steve Harris. Steve is the most faithful, the most trustful, the most passionate futsal expert in Asia. Hi Steve.
Hi.
And welcome to Tarek Rizk. For me it's the best Lebanese futsal coach, and he's now a coach in one of the best, of the biggest clubs in Saudi Arabia, Al-Qadsiya. Ahlan Tarek.
Hi, Rami. Thank you.
So the FC Futsal Championship was cancelled due to the pandemic, and the Asian Football Confederation decided to choose 3 representatives to qualify directly to the World Cup based on previous results: Iran, Japan, and Uzbekistan. And it decided that for 4 other countries to play in 2 fixtures, 2 games in a playoff qualification. And there was a draw. Lebanon was drawn with Vietnam and Iraq with Thailand. So the 2 legs, the first leg will be played on May 23 and the second on May 25. Lebanese Federation worked really hard in order to protect Lebanon's interests. Tarek, why the Lebanese Federation worked so hard?
Hi, Steve. Hi, Rami. Again, thank you for the introduction about the Lebanese futsal. The Lebanese Federation found in this opportunity, a unique opportunity to reach World Cup and another, let's say, big sport after basketball. We know that Lebanon reached basketball World Cup 3 times. We failed many times to reach the World Cup in football, even if we reached the final stage one time and we were too close to make it. So in terms of big sport, we consider futsal is a big for one of the top 4 sports in Lebanon. That's why the LFA gave a lot of attention, a lot of care, and fought a lot to protect our rights to reach the World Cup. And yesterday, Mr. Hashim Haidar, the president of LFA, during his visit to the national team, he mentioned this, and he transmit all his wishes to make the dream true for the Lebanese people and the futsal crowd, and why not to reach World Cup in a game under the umbrella of FIFA, which is futsal.
You have played a role in this strategy. Can you tell more details?
We as futsal committee in the Lebanese Football Association, we are 5 to 6 members. We worked hard to reply on AFC proposals. Steve knows, you know, that we had 2 options, A and B. And first, to agree on this, all federations and mainly Lebanon, we prefer to play the championship. Anything except a real championship will not be the ideal solution. This is first. Now, with the 2 options that we received in LFA, the Lebanese Football Association, I can say that was behind the final proposal agreed on. We as committee worked hard to get a better option than options A and B, and at least you can see not the full competition, but at least a fair game on court instead of nomination. So Lebanon Football Association worked hard to get the minimum votes for this option, and I repeat, this is not the best solution, but among the 2 previous proposals, for sure this is way better. At least you are seeing someone working hard to get the World Cup, to get this card from the futsal court. Both proposals, we were talking about 4 to 5 countries that they can get these 2 cards. We assume that the 3 upper cards will be automatically for the 3 already nominated countries. Still, you have 2 cards for 5 teams. I believe by adding Australia, maybe Steve, you know that, maybe you can add Australia to these 4 teams. But then, since maybe Australia is not so active now, you can say that these 4 teams are all allowed to say that I have the right by nomination, I have the right to go. So the best way was to go to the field and then to decide.
Tarek, this is a question for you. When I first saw the 2 options offered by the AFC, I thought there were options B and C. And I thought to myself, why is there no option A? Because option A would be the obvious one, and that is to select from the 8 teams, or 7 teams rather, that finished in first place in the actual tournament itself. The tournament has already begun. This is not a new tournament. The tournament is already half finished, the AFC qualification round. So essentially, the AFC threw out, they disposed of the results that were valid, and they started the selection process from zero. So Tarek, did anybody suggest actually using the valid results of this tournament, which has already started?
Excellent question. I asked this question to myself, but I have no clue about. I understand what you say. For example, as if you are asking me in another way, please correct if I am wrong, that how it comes that Iraq, who didn't get the card upon the qualifications to reach the Asian Championship, to get another chance, like a shortcut to reach the World Cup. I am surprised, and I agree with you, but I have no clue about why we didn't, based on the previous results of the competition itself, as you said, it already started, and then to choose between the leaders, the top of groups during the qualifications, the team must able to reach the World Cup to represent the better way, the best way, Asia. I agree with you, but I don't have any clue about. What I am sure that, as Rami said, when we received an LFA, the 2 options, Mr. Hashim Haidar, Mr. Simon Douahi, and the whole futsal committee, and even me personally, I got the chance to contribute with my colleagues, Sandeep, and the rest of the committee, to give our remarks and our suggestions through the letter received by AFC, and the proposal adopted. I believe that Lebanon was behind it. And here I need, again, to give credit to Mr. Hashim Haidar, the Lebanese Football Association president, and Mr. Abu Firas, the general secretary. They worked hard. I don't want to say lobbying, because we are not talking about politics here. And I even hate the word itself in sports, but they worked hard to vote for the best solution upon the 3 that we were discussing. But I respect your question and I support it strongly.
It was a miraculous return to life by Iraq.
There will be a playoff in 2 legs. Leg 1
2 games aggregate, yes. 2 games aggregate in Fujairah, probably in Fujairah.
Okay.
In Emirates.
Okay, there is a lot of Lebanese. Do you know if the public will be allowed to enter the games?
Yesterday, the Lebanese team manager said that there is no information yet about that. But if it will be, we hope so, that our Lebanese supporters will be our 6th player on court.
Coach Tarek, Lebanon appoint a new coach, a Spanish one. He has a good experience in Italy. He won the Italian Cup. He has also a good experience in Kuwait. He has 0 experience in a national team. He also said it by himself in the press conference. Why him?
I can say that this is a question have been spoken and thought by many futsal lovers in Lebanon. Why a new coach? You know that we had a previous Spanish experience, recent Spanish experience with Coach Paco Arujo, who had a big history with the Lebanese futsal, and he's a friend and very close to my heart. We worked more than years between academies and national teams personally. Now the Lebanese Futsal Committee discussed the matter. We had more than one opinion, to be honest, in this committee, but we sorted out with this suggestion to appoint a new coach. We decided first to appoint a new coach, which can have, let's say, a good shock for the players. And I repeat, this was the decision taken by the whole committee, not by me, not by myself personally. So we decided then to appoint a new coach. We had many possibilities. We worked on many options, and what I will not enter in the details, but what I can say that we were looking for someone who can understand the mentality in Asia and in the Middle East specifically, first. Second, tactically wise, he can do the required adjustments. As Steve was saying, you have a couple of games, you have 20 to 25 days out of COVID situation, the lockdowns, the stop of the leagues, players out of shape. You need someone who can understand the mentality to work immediately to fill the gaps, and he can understand the weaknesses in our national team. Coach Ramiro, I can say that, as you said, he had a huge 5 years experience in Kuwait, plenty of success with Cup, Super Cup, and league title. He won also the Cup in Italy. He was one of many options that we discussed. Some of them we entered negotiations and we couldn't make it on time. You know, the frame of time was too limited. That's why we went to Coach Ramiro. Now, what I can say that there is pros and cons. You know, now Coach Ramiro is close in mentality and for the Spanish methodology for the Lebanese players, which is good since they worked with Coach Paco for many years. One, second, he knows Asia well, and he prepared. He got the time to prepare versus the possibilities to face Vietnam, Thailand, or Iraq. He did a small scouting about all three big national teams. This limited frame of time, I believe that the will, and the shape and fitness level of the players of each of the four national teams will make more difference in such back-to-back games, I can say.
Coach Tarek, the fitness is always an issue in Lebanon. And do you think the players will be ready?
First, the main problem that Lebanon, I believe, that will face is that we have, a combination between young players and experienced players. Our main stars, besides Steve Kokozian, I can say, are Karim Abu Zaid, Ali Tnesh Sisi, and Ahmed Khairuddin. These three players, I believe that they are the key players of our national team. I'm not confessing a secret here, everyone knows them. So these three players, as much as they will be ready fitness-wise, mentally, to, let's say, temporize the game, okay, with their experience and their talent and their futsal skills, as much as Lebanon will be okay. With all respect to other players, now we have Kubaisi, the top scorer of the league with Army. We have Ali Homsi, captain and coach of Harriya Saida, ranked third in the league. We have a lot of players with Steve, with Ashta on goal. I respect all these players, but the three stars that I mentioned, I believe that as much as they will be ready for this event, as much as the chances of Lebanon will be boosted. So, Ahmed Khairuddin was playing in Iraq, but the league, he left the team and the league was struggling a little bit. So it have been 2 months, maybe more, 70 days without fully commitment in a team. Karim Abu Zaid, it have been 1 year in Africa following his professional career. So he will join after almost 1 year without playing serious futsal. And third player is Ali Tnesh Sisi. You know, Rami, Steve, we are proud to announce that Ali Tnesh is playing with the biggest football club in Lebanon, and he had the best goal in the league in the derby of Lebanon. He played already football before, and he left it for futsal, and then he came back now to football. So to adjust, and he's injured till now, and till now his club is in the semi-final of the Football Cup. So probably if Nejmi will reach the final, it will be on the 13th. So injured Ali, if he has chance to join the national team due to his injury after the end of the cup, he will have maybe, let's say, 1 week to readjust to futsal, which is not easy at all. With all these problems, I believe that Coach Ramiro has a lot to prepare. You need the shadow players, you need the role players to get ready. you need to prepare more than one plan. You have these 3 stars. You have Steve, you have Hamsi, you have Rahim, you have a lot of options. You have under 20 stars, Jamal, Gio, and a lot of others. But you need to count on some experienced players. So I believe that it will be a confusion of hell, believe me.
I'm very pleasantly surprised that Kareem and Sisi will be returning to the national team, because I didn't expect that they would be there. If Kareem has not been playing, though, you know, I don't know if he'll be match fit. So that would be a big question mark.
He has a very good. He's very fit. Let's say that way. I saw his story on Instagram. His wife is also. I think his wife is physical.
Yes.
So
yes,
you
exactly.
can have.
Marwan is a physical trainer.
When we are close to qualification to the World Cup, we fail. We have psychological, not issue, but mental game. What do you think? Do you think we can have this mentality, this winning mentality?
I believe that each time you fail, you need to repeat it again, work harder, and then try it again. But I agree with you. It was too close many times. One time we had the chance to go to the World Cup, and due to the goal difference with Thailand, we couldn't. I still remember this. And and even in football, it was another story. We're not here to share the coulisses of this, but it is mental. Yes, it's about let's say will. It's about how to be mentally strong for these kind of crucial games. For example, now even if we are talking about the new coach, but if it comes to me, I cannot blame any coach with less than 20 trainings or 25 if he couldn't reach the World Cup. So it will be basically upon the will and the commitment and the fighting spirit of the players. And I'm not here to discuss only Lebanon performance. Other clubs, other teams as well. Iraq, they were struggling in their leagues. Vietnam as well, and Thailand. So now with the COVID, it's not only about being mentally strong in this back-to-back games. It's about will, fighting spirit, and fitness level.
Tarek, how do you feel about Vietnam as the opponent? What were your first impressions after the draw?
For me, when I saw the draw, I said karma is here. You know why? Because if you go back to the group stage of Lebanon supposed to be in AFC, it includes who? Japan, Kuwait, and Kyrgyzstan. You remember that? And we were expecting, now we are talking just suggestions, okay? We are analyzing. If we will go as second of group, supposing that Japan will lead the group, okay? We were expecting to face Vietnam in a crucial game in the quarterfinal, because Vietnam was with the host in the first group. So I believe that karma is here. So this game I was expecting when I was working with the national team before moving to Saudi Arabia. I was reading the path, let's say, and saying that this game can be very crucial. But before this, we had at least 2 finals to play versus Kuwait and versus Kyrgyzstan, because you know that you analyzed this, and I saw this published on your group when you said that 3 teams ranked between 40, 41, and 44 in futsal world ranking are in the same group. So this is the group of death. And the second probably will be the second, supposing that Japan will be the top of the group. The second even will probably face Vietnam as top of the other group. So I said that it's okay. Look at this. We had the same opponent that we expect after finishing the 2 first finals in back-to-back games. So I believe, to be honest, if Lebanon deserves to be in the World Cup, he should win this couple of games, or at least show that is better than Vietnam to deserve this card in the World Cup.
And Vietnam is a new opponent to Lebanon, because if I remember, it's maybe our first official game against them. or not?
I believe in the last at least 7 to 8 years, yeah, maybe this is our first game versus them.
Is it good or not? Not to know each other's, like for example with Iraq or with Thailand. I remember Thailand, we beat them 5-2 in the mental game, not knowing very well our opponents. Even if I know that Vietnamese club face Lebanese club, especially Bank of Beirut.
Yes, and we know them closely, let's say, especially that I don't know if Steve will agree that most of the Vietnamese national team were Tyson Nam players. So we know them well, and what I can say that in terms, Lebanon is a team that can fight with the biggest clubs in Asia, and that can struggle with the weaker teams even. So, as you said, we can beat Thailand today, and we can draw with Saudi Arabia. We can lose versus Bahrain. We are not stable in this. We are not consistent. We have a huge talent, but in terms of game situations, it all depends from the game itself.
And I think the Lebanese players, even though they haven't played Vietnam directly, have had many, many, many chances to watch them play as Vietnam or as Tyson Nam. So most of the 14 players that will be chosen are familiar faces to the Lebanese players. And not only that, but I think, those players have watched the actual games in the arenas, not over the internet. So they can tell, first of all, how strong and fast Vietnamese players are, how determined they are. They don't play a tricky game, from my perspective. They don't play a very sort of very tactical game, but they never quit. They keep coming. They keep coming. They keep coming. They keep coming. One thing they understand is that futsal is a 40-minute game, not 39, not 38, not 39 seconds at 39 minutes and 59 seconds. It's a 40-minute game, and they never give up. They keep on coming. So that's the scary thing from the Lebanese perspective.
Yes, and Tarek knows way better than me, but I think the determination, not the determination, but the focus of Lebanese players is sometimes limited.
It depends on the players, it depends on the situation. Even the Vietnamese players can become disoriented and lose their focus.
Any comment, Coach Tarek?
I wish that Lebanon will have 100% full focus during the upcoming games, and I agree. Now it's all about will. Who will be more hungry to reach the World Cup? This is the question. With all my respect to all the coaches involved, but these games are about will and about who's ready fitness-wise after the COVID. We are in critical conditions now. If you will ask me, for example, what if these back-to-back games were held after 1 year of preparation? Okay, I can talk with you technically. I can go to describe the tactical movements of each team to analyze them. But you see, for example, yesterday I saw that Bruno, coach of Japan, could make a camp of 3 days. Let's say, in the camp of 3 days, you cannot put all your tactical concepts for a competition. You can refresh some previous concepts and add some simple signals in offense or some tips in defense, but you cannot change it all. And we are talking about a coach who's currently working for many years for the same national team. What if we are talking about one event just 20 days before it? I believe that it will be all in the mentality of the players and in their will and how they are hungry to reach the World Cup. And in this, I believe Lebanon should be more hungry, more than Vietnam, because some of them, I believe, that it will be now or never for them. For example, Homsi, Karim Abu Zaid, Ashta, these experienced players probably will be their last chance to reach the World Cup, because after 4 years, it will be over for them.
you know, it really is all about that moment and like which players seize the opportunity. And we saw a very vivid example of that in the UEFA Champions League when Sporting won. And, you know, they beat all the other champions, you know.
Yeah.
They beat them all. And the impact of the victory I didn't really feel it until afterwards. Because when I was watching them, to be quite honest, I was not that impressed by them as a futsal team. It wasn't beautiful futsal. It wasn't the kind of football about.
But as character and reactions after each defensive movement or offensive movement, you will feel that there is this spice. They are willing to win.
There was no way they were going to accept defeat. I mean, I didn't realize that at the time, but afterwards, I kind of thought about it, and it gradually sunk in that sort of winning mentality, and they just had it. They were on fire. They were not going to accept defeat throughout the entire tournament, and it was very impressive. But as I said, not the most beautiful futsal I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, but they won, and nobody can take that away from them.
Yeah, but huge credit to Coach Nuno Diaz in this, because he showed a very good character to temporize the game, to control the game, especially in set pieces, when to put Tainam on court, to fight on some critical balls, to cut the momentum of the opponent. You know, when you have a player like Tainam, it's not only about his skills, it's about his mental ability. And it reminds me a lot, the character shown by the Portuguese champions. It reminds me by the final of Portugal, Spain in 2018 in Ljubljana. I was in the arena there when I believe that Ricardinho helped Portugal to make it with his character of the bench. I believe that maybe if Ricardinho had more time on court than being on the bench fighting, he was injured, you know, fighting with his team, maybe he could make it, maybe not. But with his character of supporting out of the bench, it was a piece of art at the moment.
Tarek, you highlight many times the necessity to temporize the game.
Sure.
Which players in Lebanon has this role?
First player to name is Qasim Kausan, the captain of our national team. We all know that maybe he will not get the same role that he used to have 8 years ago or 10 years ago in the national team. But I believe that this kind of players who can play maybe 2 or 3 minutes in the game, believe me. But once he's on the floor, he knows. He's another coach. He's a coach on the court. He knows what to do on the court, when to proceed, when to play long balls and get back to defend, when to make a foul even in some critical situations, just to cut the tempo of the opponent. Believe me, sometimes he can call another timeout inside the field. Okay, believe me, and he can make a foul or make a small fight to involve some player in a fight, just to let the opponent out of, let's say, out of his momentum. This is very important in futsal, because as Steve said, that it's really true that the game is 40 minutes and it's more to mental than into physical game.
It's also very interesting how there are certain players who are better suited for the international game. So there are certain players that can play very well domestically, but you put them in an international game and they get lost. They get disoriented. There are certain things that happen on the pitch that they don't understand. But at the same time, there are certain players, and it's like they have a map. They have a map for the international game, and you put them out there, and for 10 years, for 15 years sometimes. They never get old because they understand how it works, how an international game works. So experience in international games is like gold. It's just the most valuable thing you can have in this kind of a competition. You really cannot test new players. And so I suspect that all four teams will be relying on their most experienced players, because there's 80 minutes and anything can happen in 80 minutes. So you want to have reliable players in the pitch.
As he said, the experienced players are the gold, and as much as they will be ready, as much as each team with its golden players have more chances to reach this World Cup.
We have, for example, in Lebanon, a player playing in France, Steve Caucasian. Steve, do you think that players from Asia are going to play in Europe, they come back to their national team with more experience, with more tactical awareness, or not?
I would hope so. Obviously, if well, I mean, the French league is just sort of emerging right now. It's not a league with a lot of tradition, but if you watch the games, you see very high quality futsal, and and any player who leaves his country to play abroad, it's obviously going to pick up a lot of new knowledge and strengths, resilience, the ability to just get through the unknown things. So, but Steve Caucasian, I believe is his last name. He's still very young, right? He's only about 21 years old, I think. I think he was on the under 20s, right?
Right.
Tarek knows better, yes.
He was the captain of my under 20 national team.
Right, and still a very young player, but I also saw him. I think I saw him play with the top team in, and he was very confident and very impressive. But yeah, among these four teams, they're pretty domestic. There are not very many players in any of the four countries playing abroad. Two of the Vietnamese players were in Japan for a short time last year. Currently the former well, actually, I'm not sure he was the captain, but Suphawut, the great pivot, is playing for Nagoya, and he will not be in this upcoming playoff. And there are no players in Iraq playing overseas either. So they're all basically domestically positioned. So Steve Caucasian will be the exception. You have to admire Pulpus, because he won't take Suphawut to the games. Suphawut will stay in Japan, and obviously you want him in a big game. So Pulp will, he hasn't announced his players yet, but I think that Suphawut won't be going. I'm not sure, and I think that Vietnam might be taking a couple of newer players. I was talking to a friend of mine today that is rather knowledgeable, and he seems to think that the coach will take a couple of the newer players that are at the camp right now. But that's the coach's decision, not my friend's.
But still, I believe that their role will be minor. They will not have the major role in this couple of games. By the way, I had a question here to think about. What if the opponent wasn't Iraq? Do you think that Pulp will agree that Suphawut will stay with Nagoya?
Whew, wow, yeah. Well, I first of all, I don't know if he has made that decision yet, or if Suphawut has made the decision, or if Nagoya has made the decision. I'm going to assume that this playoff will be considered a FIFA day, even though I don't think those aren't FIFA days, right? May 23rd.
No.
So I think that the club is not. Is there an international? Is there a responsibility to FIFA to send players?
I never thought about, because as you said, our players were all committed in our local league for now, except Ahmad, who left his team previously. And for Steve, there is no championship now in France, and he was on his way back to Lebanon, so we didn't face this problem. But it's a very interesting question to think about. But
is there Sundays in football?
Yes,
Yes, in football, it's last days of May.
I was asking, it's really confusing for purpose. Let's say if a big surprise will happen and Iraq will make it, I don't know. I will blame myself if I was him. If Suphawut, you know, he's a quality player. He's one of the golden players in Asia, not only in Thailand. So it's really confusing.
Yeah, yeah. But this one thing we have to bear in mind is the fact that this is without precedent. There's been no situation like this before, to my knowledge, where you just sort of have randomly a playoff like this,
yes,
where the teams are, everything about it is exceptional. And I hope this is the only time. I hope it never happens again.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
It's not fair to anybody.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
yes,
but I wanted to ask Tarek, do you know what the criteria are for victory? Because obviously points, obviously goal difference. Do you think fair play points will be applied?
What AFC sent first to the federations was the following. AFC didn't adopt Dubai as a place to hold this tournament. All the four federations agreed on. So AFC in his letter sent that it will be a home and away game, okay, with all the rules of aggregate games. So I believe that first game will be, let's say, the home of Lebanon, and the second game will be the home for Vietnam, for example, and then they will apply the aggregate rule.
But what about 0-0-0-0-0-0-0? What happens then?
I will double check on this. I have maybe the letter, and I will get back to you. But I don't have a real answer. Maybe penalties in this situation as for aggregate, probably.
Playing in a World Cup is an amazing experience. Steve, what can we expect from Asian teams in this World Cup?
Iran obviously has been leading the way until about the 2000 World Cup. 2004, Asia was really not one of the contenders. I think it was 2008 when Iran first had their major success, and Japan has qualified for the second round. Thailand has qualified for the second round. So, three of our countries have gone into the second round now, and this is consistently over the last 2008, 2012. So the last three World Cups, we've seen Asian teams emerge, and even Vietnam won one game at the last World Cup, and it was their debut. So, the map is changing. I mean, I don't expect necessarily Iran to win the World Cup or Japan for that matter, but I think we can expect one or two Asian teams to go through to the second round. We're also fortunate because if Europe had more teams in the World Cup, I think it would be more difficult. Right now, there are many talented teams in Europe, but they only have 7 berths. So the fact that there are a few European teams in the World Cup is a benefit to regions like Asia, because that gives us fewer strong teams to contend with.
The dreams of Lebanese futsal players, and maybe everyone else in Lebanon, is to leave the country, to play abroad. Can we say that playing World Cup games can give them more exposure to play abroad, or not necessary?
It's kind of like a matter of timing, and a matter of like, if a particular club in a particular country sees a player and becomes interested in that player, they might arrange to have that player transfer to the club. Obviously, the World Cup is, the best place to sell yourself as a player. But success of the World Cup does not necessarily guarantee, let's say, a player from Japan or Vietnam or Lebanon will necessarily be scouted by a major club. And futsal is still, semi-professional, amateur in many places. So there's not a lot of money. Working visas can be a problem. So we don't have the sort of global fluidity that football has. There's much tighter limitations on our players in terms of their mobility. You can't be scouted and immediately sent to a foreign country because there simply isn't the money. And, then you have to have interpreters, you have to have, visas, you have to have all kinds of extra things thrown in. And futsal teams often don't have that kind of budget.
As you said, Steve, the map is changing, is moving.
Be both surprised when I say that Saudi Arabia can be a new powerhouse in Asia. They have the facilities because here the club, especially top clubs in futsal, are also pro league football clubs. So in the same huge facility, which includes football courts, more than one football court, there is a private futsal court. Futsal, it's a multifunctional court. We play on this court handball and futsal and basketball. But the main thing that you are not going to rent your court for trainings, which one time I believe recently Steve was talking about Nagoya Ocean's court and the story about leaving the court to rent in another place, etc. So the top teams here at Tifaq and Qadsiya first, they own their own courts. There is a lot of players of other teams, for example, Nahda, Wahda, a lot of teams that they own their own courts. This is a huge advantage, and you cannot find that even in Lebanon. In Lebanon, you can only discuss about the team of Army, which own his own court, This is first. Second, with the weather in Saudi Arabia, and this is very important, for example, in the Gulf, the temperature outside can reach 40 degrees Celsius, 45 sometimes. So indoor games should be more, let's say, spreaded among the lovers of football more than the big field. Third, now the federation in Saudi Arabia is investing a lot on national team. That's why Luis Fonseca and our common friends, Steve and me, Alberto, are here with the Spanish crew to lead the national team. But I believe this year we were expecting to have more support from the federation and from the ministry, because there is a vision in whole Saudi Arabia called Vision 2030. It's a vision to improve the country in terms of resources, in terms of business, of tourism, and in sports. So we were expecting to have more funds, almost 3 times to 4 times what we are earning now from the federation, which can boost the level of foreigners in teams, the level of coaches in teams, and the level of organization and commitment of players in teams. So I believe if yesterday the federation had a very important meeting regarding the rest of the league and the upcoming steps, and I believe that they will renew with the coaching staff in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has everything to be a powerhouse in Asia in the near future.
What do you think, Steve, about what is happening in Saudi Arabia? In the meantime, what I can see in Asia is many countries are not investing a lot in futsal. So do you think the map will move to the west or not?
Heard that there is a very vibrant futsal sort of street soccer culture in Saudi Arabia. So Tarek, is that true?
I totally agree, especially in Ramadan. There is a lot of tournaments organized in Ramadan, sponsored by the biggest companies in the world, for example, Pepsi or any other, or let's say five-side or street football, yes.
And I hear that just young people are constantly playing, and that is, of course, more important than investment, because you have to have the players, you have to have the raw talent, you have to have that desire, you have to have just sort of organic growth before you can have real growth. But first of all, you need the talent. And from what I understand, Saudi Arabia has many, many talented football and futsal players because they're playing all the time.
For the Lebanese audience, we know in football we play a lot against South Korea. And they are a bit surprised not to see South Korea in futsal, like in football, and even China. Why Japan in this area is the best and really the best? Is this cultural, or is there a policy about it, a strategy, a history, or something like that?
There's some countries where we have, I guess, what you call early adopters, people who find something that's interesting or cool, and they start doing it. And in the case of futsal, I think it was a very good fit because if you look at Japanese football, it tends to be very skillful, close control, short passing, ball control, these kind of things. Our footballers like to play that way. So futsal was sort of very automatic. Kids who were playing football, when they started to play futsal, it was an automatic fit. So even to this day, it might surprise you to learn this, but probably the majority of players on the national team, the top futsal players in Asia, are former football players. They switched to futsal, maybe in their late teens, maybe in their early 20s, but they're essentially mostly football players who just love that kind of close control, who love the mental game. We just have a football culture here that is a good fit for futsal. And Thailand is the same way.
A question of FA Lebanon fans: what's more important in this kind of match, being skillful or being brave?
For sure, brave.
And I refer to the example of Sporting that I cited. It was not only being brave, but being bold.
Not only, yes.
Having, winning mentality and just not,
exactly.
And saying, not today. You are not going to take this victory away from me today. This is my victory.
We have a lot of questions asking, is Vietnam easier game than Thailand? Because our fans know better of Thailand than Vietnam.
First of all, anything can happen in 40 minutes. But out of 10 games, I think probably Thailand would be the more difficult team eight times. 8 times out of 10. There might be 2 games when Vietnam, is really, really having a good day, and you can't deal with them. But
add one point that if we are going to face Thailand will be aiming for the revenge after the last 5-2 defeat. This is very important.
That was humiliating. It was a very humiliating defeat for Thailand.
Question also, will the coach pick up a surprise, an unarmed player, young player? It's for the coach Tarek.
Highly unlikely. As we were talking about, international experience is everything in this situation. I can't remember even one time when a completely unknown player, well, actually, in the AFC Championship, I think it was 2014, when Japan beat Iran, the goalkeeper, Sekiguchi, had not played in the tournament until the final. He only played the final. And then he ended up winning in penalties. But he wasn't unknown. He was just young. But rarely will it happen. Rarely will that happen.
Even now, the goalkeeper who replaced Higuita in the Champions League, he was only, I guess, 19 years old, right?
And I don't think he had a very good game the second game, did he?
Yes. But I believe in their win 6-2, he was okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Question about the importance of the players in the bench.
Oof. So important, especially in this game. The bench should be all bounded, everyone supporting the teammates on court. It's a national mission. There is no doubt that the bench should be full supporting the players on court.
Who is the assistant coach of Ramiro?
He has now 2 assistant coaches. Miguel, an expert scouter with a good CV in Spain, between 3rd and 2nd division as head coach and assistant coach. And Rabi' Abu Shaya, the well-known Lebanese coach who coached before Army team, and he was captain of Sada'a and Pros Cafe. He had a huge history in the game in Lebanon.
And the last question, Lebanon will play friendly games in Dubai or in Fujairah against, I guess, Thailand and Iraq. And Vietnam
We're still
also
working on a plan. Vietnam confirmed that they will play Thailand.
Yes.
Steve published it maybe today. But Lebanon, I believe that we are looking to play versus a team there. I don't know if it is confirmed yet, but still, especially that I believe that Emirates will be almost traveling 2 or 3 days after to Egypt to play the Arab Championship. So I don't know if Emirates will be interested to play either Iraq or Lebanon. This is an opportunity, but nothing to be confirmed. But to be honest, it's even if you are going to play, you are going to see your adjustments because the opponents are too different. Or even Vietnam now, they are going to play Thailand, but Thailand is totally different than Lebanese squad and style. And even Lebanon, if Lebanon will go to play, let's say, Iraq or Emirates, I believe that it's not similar or even close to the Vietnamese style of game. I don't know if Steve agrees with me.
Yeah, I don't know if, yeah, I'm trying to think of a team that's similar to Vietnam. They're pretty unique, actually. Nothing comes to mind. Maybe Indonesia is similar because they are also very they play a very physical, fast game, and Vietnam can do that also. Although more and more, I see Vietnam playing a controlled game, so it's really hard to generalize.
Thank you so much, and I hope we can make it again, like a preview for the World Cup if Lebanon qualify. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Bye.
Nice to see you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. Thanks for having me.